All right, Eric. Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's take welcome to the March 26th Open Space and Recreation Committee meeting. And it looks like we have everyone. We'll do a roll call in a moment. I call us to order and remind everyone that under Mass General Law, we're authorized to have Zoom meetings through March of 2025. And this is how it is right now. I had hoped to meet together and have a hybrid meeting, but apparently the city is not quite ready, or the meeting rooms weren't quite available for us on this date. In either case, I hope we can pin it down and get to that mode soon, because I would like to be around the table with you all. So, first order of business is to see if we have a volunteer for a rapporteur. Anyone?
I don't mind doing it. I'll give it a shot anyway.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adrian.
No problem.
Okay.
And I will help, and reach out. I'll help if you need help with any part of it. It's, once you do it once, it's kind of easy. Just the tricky part is just emailing it and processing it later. That's all.
Sure. So should I just use the template in the server? That's fine.
Yeah,
On
exactly.
Google Drive?
Just say,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. You know, and maybe look at someone else's or something like that.
Yeah.
They're not that
Right.
hard.
Right. As
You
for
all-
them,
You
all
all
of your
received mine, right?
votes and roll calls will be voice calls and nothing by unanimous consent. So we'll begin with our roll call. Dave Morrow.
Here.
Kind of hard to hear you, Dave. Okay. But I did hear you, and I know you're there. Kate Parsons.
Here.
Dave Sargent.
Here.
Richard Quaitman.
Here.
Mark Poulin.
Yeah.
Adrian Sweet.
Here.
I'm Dan Morrison, the chair of this committee, and we have Eric Hinderly guiding us from the city planning office. All right, our first order of business is to consider the minutes of our last meeting, February 27th, 2024. These were prepared expertly by Richard Quaitman. Hope you've all had a chance to look them over. Do I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. And a second?
Second.
I think I heard Dave Morrow first, or
Yes.
second on that.
Richard.
I
Richard,
don't know if I
okay.
can second my own minutes or not.
I'm okay with it. Okay, so any discussion? Thank you. All in favor of accepting the minutes of 27 February as prepared? Please indicate your vote when I call your name. Dave Morrow.
Aye.
Kate Parsons.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the process for this, and maybe I have a different draft, but the draft I had actually had the wrong date and the wrong place on it. It had January 27th and the auditorium at City Hall. But
No.
I might be looking at the wrong thing.
Oops.
Look,
No, you're not looking at the wrong thing. I have to admit I didn't look at the header.
I probably didn't either.
Okay. Thank you, Kate, for saving us that embarrassment.
I also noticed that the end time was listed at 6:30, and I'm pretty sure we went like past 7 o'clock that night.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have the exact time, so.
All right. So the header does say conducted by Zoom. The first sentence says it will also need correction, which has the incorrect date. It does say 5 o'clock, but it says second floor Kairos. So we have a motion to correct.
It's funny, I've got it as 27. Okay. It's February 20th. I'm going to correct it. February 27th.
So the corrections would be to change the date or correct the date to February 27th to ensure the The first sentence is correct and consistent with the header, indicating the date and that the meeting was conducted by Zoom. And then third, to change the closing time as a better estimate of 7 p.m.
I'm just doing that right now.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes with those 3 corrections.
Move to accept these as amended.
Second,
And so Dave Sargent has moved, Mark Pullen has seconded. So the motion is to accept the minutes as corrected, that is with the correct date in the header, the correct date and location in the first sentence, and the correct closing time at the very end. Dave Morrow,
Aye.
Kate Parsons,
Yes.
Dave Sargent,
Yes.
Richard Quaitman,
Yes,
Mark Pullen,
yes.
Adrian Sweet,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you.
and Dan, I've sent you the corrected minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you
you'll
for the,
notice that in the minutes I had to differentiate by Dave Morris and Dan Morris. So I did D lowercase n and D lowercase v.
all right, so I'm DNM and Dave Morrow is DVM.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not sure that's the convention that was in the last month, but it'll work as long as it's described at the top. All right. Updates on membership, staff support, and issues related to the processes of the Open Space Committee. I'll get this started and then turn it over to Eric. Is that okay, Eric?
Sure.
So on the 27th of February, concurrent with our meeting, the City Council met and adjusted our founding ordinance, and it comes into effect 31 days afterwards. So that would be the 29th of March. And it is only at that point that we would change from having 7 members to 7 voting members and 2 alternate members for a total of 9. And so I believe the City Hall is poised to start processing at least one new appointment in a couple of days. So Eric, do you have any news on those topics?
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of just spell it out there. We do have an applicant that was confirmed. Hasn't been referred to City Council yet for acceptance. Yeah, it goes to
Council, then O&M, then council.
yeah, exactly. So it's like these are kind of long processes to get on board the alternates, but we do still need another alternate member. We have not gotten or received any applications that I'm aware of yet.
Can I ask the name of
So-
the applicant, or are we not sharing that? Because I have somebody who said they were interested and she was on stage 4 with me, and I'm surprised that it wasn't her application. I'm wondering if it's her or if I should encourage her to reach out.
It was not. This is, I don't want to get out in front of the mayor's office and talking about someone because I don't think it's an official matter.
Right.
But this person is not from the stage 4 park.
Okay. This person wasn't either. She was about to join and
Oh.
so she never actually came to any meetings or did anything. She was just looking to get involved. So this might be a better fit for her. I don't know.
Yeah, have her apply, definitely.
Yeah.
She was I mean, the mayor accepted her and then said, let's hold off because we're not sure how
Okay.
we're moving forward.
Right, okay.
And then
Huh.
she never, she literally she just never got sworn in. So she has her resume submitted and her intent to join and all that. So I can have her.
So, Adrian, are you in contact with this individual?
Yeah.
If you would kindly urge her to contact the mayor's office and
Okay.
pursue it, because there's plenty for us to do, and having 9 working folks will be a benefit. So.
Okay.
All right.
Did I miss here? I was distracted from it. Did I miss here you say that we don't have, we still We have one applicant already, right, for the,
We have one
Mhm.
applicant, yes.
okay, good.
It's kind of poised to go, but it'll take a month, really, when you look at the process,
Yeah.
because it goes to a
Right.
council meeting after the 29th, the council meeting, then to O&M, then back to the council, then a letter from the mayor. So
Right,
I would not count on having any additional members until our May meeting. Okay. I sent out my summary of the training, open meeting law and hybrid facility, or the training that was on the open meeting law and hybrid facilities and on board committee commission ethics. A brief message. I hope you all had a chance to look it over. Dave Morrow was also there, and Mark was there. Do any of you have observations or additional notes from that meeting that you would like to share with the group?
I thought there'd be something from legal that would send the PowerPoint out. Remember she mentioned, I think Susan Egan mentioned at the meeting that she would make that PowerPoint public. And maybe it's on the city website, I'm not sure, but.
I looked for it a couple
Me too.
weeks ago, or shortly after that meeting, but I have not gone back this week.
I'll double back and
It seemed like a refresher. I had heard pretty much all that before in the ethics training that we did online. And so I
Okay,
don't think you missed a lot if you weren't there.
okay.
Knowing how to run the rooms, it was an interesting part
Yeah.
of it too.
I think it'll take us one time to get the hybrid room going correctly. We'll probably make a mistake or two in the first meeting, and that'll be that. It's a one button start, but there are some features that there are better ways and less good ways to put documents up on the screen for sharing, both to present to the people in the space and to share with the people who are viewing it by Zoom. And we'll figure that out. Okay. I'll move on. Update on Community Preservation Committee activities. Mark Pullen.
So at our last meeting, we reviewed and voted on eligibility. And there were 3 projects that came in under the open space and recreation category. And one of them that was voted eligible was the Sawyer Free Library. And it was is to finish off the gardens and the fountain and the garden area. So it was categorized as open space because it was really not one of the other categories, right? It wasn't historic preservation but it just kind of fell into that category. But in terms of, needing any other focus or anything like that, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. It's just kind of finishing off the gardens at the library. There was another one that we deferred, and the one we deferred 2 of them actually till next time, so they have not been deemed eligible yet. But one of the ones that was deferred was Camp Spindrift, and it was this open art space. So it was sort of carving out a section of their property to make sort of an open art area outside education space, and maybe amphitheater kind of thing, just that kind of thing. And we just need some more, the liaison for that just wants to get some more information and just before we vote on it. And then there's another one. Now this one has a lot. There's another one that is pending a memorandum of understanding from the city before we can even vote on it. And that is a Good Harbor Beach Conservancy. And this one there's a lot to unpack there. It's a big initiative by Friends of Good Harbor Beach that is sort of 3 main components to it. One of them is sort of this education component to it with educational kiosks and some of just bringing awareness to that area in space, which would seem like a good thing. And then it branched off into some other things with conservancy and conservation restrictions and other climate resiliency things. So it had a lot of tentacles. It wasn't clear to us what they were doing with the funds. But clearly it's all city property. And so there was an MOU that has to happen. So we're going to defer that one for a vote. So.
Thank you, Mark. So at the moment, it sounds like you don't need any input or discussion or advice from the committee, because one is the library, and that's not really our bailiwick, and the other two are deferred.
Correct. So at this time, there's no ask and no interaction.
Okay. Any questions for Mark? Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Hearing none, I will move on. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, you should all see a semi-annual summary of Open Space and Recreation Committee's activities in progress, April 2024. Is it viewed okay?
Mhm.
All right, let me make it a little bigger. So when we were reviewing the ordinance a couple of months ago, I was reminded of this requirement. To my knowledge, such a report has not been submitted before. Does any of you have, like Dave Sargent, you've been around, and others who've been around for a long time, do you have any recollection of prior semi-annual reports?
It's never been submitted before.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I see this as it's a task for us, but I also think it's a good opportunity to keep resurfacing the Open Space Committee and getting ourselves, an audience if we need one. And so I want to use, I hope we'll have the discipline, and I'll have the discipline to do this, at least for my term, for that purpose. And we can talk a little bit. I want to get your okay on the document, but I'd also like to talk about the best process for rolling it out. And, we can just send a memo, done, or we can, also seek a briefing or, and that sort of. So I'll begin with the document itself. Have you all had a chance to look it over?
Mm-hmm.
And I could, let me just, I'll go through section by section. I won't, read every bit of it, but if you have something that you would like an edit or an addition or something that you would like to see changed or an improvement that you can offer, I hope you'll chime in. Is that a fair way to approach this? Great. And some of this will become boilerplate, some of it because it's the first time I did a little more explaining, and I'll extract that in the future, and particularly in this first paragraph at the top. Then the recent OSRC highlights. I wanted to have some wallop right at the front, and I thought these were the kind of the most urgent things that are in front of us right now. Any comments? Okay. Oops. Okay. I think this will be a standing item in the report, the open space and recreation plan. I'll do a little wordsmithing here, and if you'll indulge me with that, I will probably just say that it was submitted to the City Council and Mayor in August of 2022. Eric has dug that up. I was something I couldn't find. Please chime in if there's anything that needs further attention. Advisory committee consolidation. I struck a sentence but didn't remove it. I need to remove that. And
so this is Rich. I sent you a note. I thought we should put in there that a priority both of Dogtown and OSRC is getting the privately owned in-holdings of Dogtown under city ownership and under conservation restriction.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Richard, for mentioning that. I got your note, but didn't know where you were targeting with that little bit of information. Okay. So can you help me focus that? Well, let's see. What do we have up here? So adding a
There was
highlight
spot
here.
in it, I can't remember.
So adding a highlight here at the top.
No, I think it should be in the consolidation. We talked about the advisories, the priorities that we had.
Should we have a section talking about what we intend to do? Seems like that would fit into that.
Okay, so down in here where promote, oh no, not there, here, biggest issues carried over.
Right.
Okay, all right. Let's hold your thought when I get and let's bring it back up when we get down here. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
I kind of intended this first part to be rather administrative. You know, a highlight is that we are an achievement of our last 6 months is that we're functioning as a committee. We have members, we show up for our meetings, we're meeting monthly and doing what's asked of us. And so that's what I was trying to get at here. Membership, any further notes? Meetings? East Gloucester Open Space. I wanted to say there were 70 people in attendance at the first meeting, Eric. I think that's the number we were using.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we didn't have like a sign-in sheet for everybody, or not everybody signs in. But I would say there was at least 70 members. It may have even been 80. It was a pretty full house that first meeting.
I mean, you're saying
But-
approximately too, so we don't have to get too.
Yeah, approximately 70. Yeah.
Why don't I, for this one, I think this was a bigger crowd. I'll say more than 70 members of the public. And then down here, I'll say approximately, and get rid of that comma, 45
Yeah.
members of the public were in attendance.
That works.
Okay. Right, bicycle and pedestrian accommodations. This is one, the letter that we sent to the council and to the mayor was actually in August, I think, and it was, or July, and so it reaches a little further back. This is one, since it's our first report, I felt okay about reaching a little further back, and I wanted to use this as another way of mentioning this.
I didn't see it.
I think it's a good idea to bring this up to their attention again.
Thank you. Right, I'm sorry. So that was Dave Sargent said bring it to their attention again. Someone else spoke?
Dave Morrow, I didn't see attached the memo. I wanted to see.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Further, can we
I-
append it at this point?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dave. Say that again, please.
As I think about this bicycle and pedestrian network issue, I was struck by the fact that a bicycle trail from Magnolia to Gloucester would be great. I wanted to see if that was already mentioned in the document you sent, and if not, I was wondering if we could add it.
Good question, and thank you. So no, that specific trail is not mentioned in the memo that was sent to the mayor and to the then council president Val Gilman back in the summer, so July or August. I do think that idea of a trail is something that if we can get some traction, no pun intended, on this, I'm pointing at my screen, you all should see this, on the Initiate a Bicycle and Pedestrian Network and Safety Plan. I think that's a great place to insert it. And my intention is to get a big old map of Gloucester and get people to mark on it exactly where they would like to see bicycle accommodations, and whether it's signage or trails or bike lanes or anything that will make riding safer. So I don't think it would be appropriate. Well, we can't add it to the memo that went out in July, but I do want to keep that idea part of the conversation. Is that fair?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Promote access and informed use of open spaces. And this is, we've had a shorthand for this in our meetings, and this is the kind of the signage project. And I took the liberty of expressing it a little differently. And so I'm particularly interested in hearing from you all whether this is okay. And Mark, you've been most steeped in this, I think. Are you there?
Yeah.
There are some places where there are kiosks that the Cape Ann Trail stewards have put up, and so they would not match some city format, perhaps. Is that what you're referring to?
No, not exactly. There are city properties that have signs that say Fernwood Lake, no ATVs. And there are other city properties that say nothing. There are some that have signs that don't look like the ones at Fernwood Lake. And so it's more that, so as a service to the public, can we come up with a way of gathering appropriate information so that people can use the sites safely and know the points of entry? And I think that the project needs to begin with a survey of the partners out there, including Cape Ann Trail stewards, where city properties abut trustees or Greenbelt properties, and contemplate the signage and whether how important consistencies between the Gloucester signage and those other entities' signage is. So I think it's a good question, but I don't intend to resolve that in this statement. I think Mark and whoever else is on this project is going to have to work that out. Did I cover it, Mark?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. The next section, biggest issues carried over from Dogtown, Magnolia Woods, and Stage Fort Park. And I rolled this into a communication thing, or a meeting that I had with DPW, because this is basically part of this is the text from the email that I sent to Mike Hale and said, these are the topics that are most compelling at these three gems of Gloucester. And I'm glad that Richard brought up the idea of the delineation of Gloucester's woodlands and the resolution of inholdings. And so maybe we could add a sentence here. Consideration moving.
That was what sparked the initial discussions about coordination / merging of Dogtown and OSRC.
So all of these are difficult. Let me further. Richard, listed members of the forum committees identified. All of these are difficult and complex issues, and some have been under discussion. None of these.
I'm not sure the Magnolia Woods one is difficult or complex.
Dave, I must ask, did you see the Facebook post showing the tracks?
Okay. hold on, I'm just trying to, how about that? All these issues.
Well, you know, the consolidation of all those properties under the city and conservation, we've already done, the two committees have already done the majority of the work. It just needs the attention of the city solicitor. There's the open space plan actually highlights every one of those properties, I believe.
How about this? A project that would delineate Dogtown.
I think you meant formally, not formerly.
Yeah, yes, thank you. It's hard to have people watching you type.
It's very difficult.
Formally delineate Dogtown and other Gloucester woodlands. And to resolve in holdings. If the committee will indulge me, what I would do is I'll get this note down and we can see if you are comfortable with allowing me to wordsmith it and submit it, or if you want to see it again, rather than have me take your time by wordsmithing live. And to resolve in holdings. And I'll just say for notes here, consistent with it's goal number one, not goal number one of the OSRP. So we highlight that.
This is in the 7-year action plan that you also sent us a connection to.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yes.
at it too. Yeah.
So I will, I'll come back to that, but I don't want to take our meeting time with that. So all of these, and then I mentioned, I had a very productive meeting with Mike Hale, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I just felt that that was a thing I should note in this report as well. Okay. So we have a couple of edits to mention. One is this that we just covered, and I will try to smooth that in. And then I'm going to make a change up here where I will remove that sentence that has the strike through, and I will combine this into a statement that it was submitted to the city in the summer of 2022, I think August of 2022.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for all your work on this.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm excited about the opportunity to do this. So, is there anything further that you all would like to see in this?
I guess since this is the first one, on the 4 bullets right there on the recent highlights, is it meant to be just recent highlights, or if being a 6-month report, should it be everything that we touched going forward? Just, it's capture what we did in the last 6 months, like just a report. It's more of a, right. I mean, I think we only did 4 things there anyway, but.
So I'm sorry, Mark, I'm not quite following you. So are you saying, should we put hit everything that we did in the last 6 months in the highlights, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, if it's a 6-month report, it's like, what did you do? It's a summary of what we did, not just the highlights. In this case, it's probably this one and the same, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
In this case, right? I don't think we did more than the 4 bullets there anyway.
Well, right. So all of these things are explained at greater length further down in the report, and
Okay.
I just wanted something to pop at the top of the report.
Okay.
And I think these are. So I bumped into a council member just the other day at the Y who said, "How's the consolidation going?" So it's something they know about, and there's a response. And then these other things are kind of hot items, the East Gloucester open space, and the bicycle thing. I think, as I mentioned, I want to bring that up again. And then the signage. I wanted to pre-inform the council and the mayor that, they're probably going to be seeing a memo from us on this topic.
Dave Sargent, and I think it's wise to have the highlights up front because most will only read that and not the rest of the document.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So
maybe this is one thing I would add. I don't know if you wanted to just to state the changing of the chair, Heidi leaving, or I'm not sure if that's something you would want in there or not.
I thought about it, and then I found myself also typing that after so many years of service, Noel, left, and
Right.
let's just back away. I think new appointments are something that the council has seen, and so let's make sure those are mentioned. But that Heidi left and that I'm here is to me non-news. But I'm open to other ideas.
I think that's a detail that they really wouldn't be interested in.
Yeah. So I would,
Yeah.
Would anyone be interested in offering a motion to accept this report and while indulging the chair to wordsmith this section? Or would you like to have me do that and I could send it out to you and you could send to Eric a confirmation or an edit to what I do?
I make a motion to accept it with the amended changes discussed at this meeting, and then have you submit it.
And you would trust my wordsmithing at that?
Of course.
I would second that.
Okay. All right. So Mark has moved and Adrian has seconded. The motion is to allow me to refine the highlighted pieces and to remove the strike through and to submit to the city this report as it would then be completed with these minor edits.
You'd also attach the bicycle memo.
Yes, thank you, Dave. And Dave, I will send you the bike memo. It's
It's
a
Google Drive too, I think.
bike memo to Dave. I will send that to you after the meeting.
It's in there?
Daniel, what I can do is I'll upload the memo into the shared drive.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
okay, and I'll still send it to Dave as well, but it's good to have it there. Okay, so we have a motion. Any discussion further? All right, so call the vote on the motion. Dave Morrow,
Yes.
Kate Parsons,
Yes.
Dave Sargent,
Yes.
Richard Quaitman,
Yes,
Mark Pullen,
Yes.
Adrian Sweet.
Yes.
And I agree. I vote yes as well. So thank you all very much. Still on the semi-annual report, I would maybe I'll ask Eric. Have you had any conversation in planning about how best to submit it? And should be a memo to the mayor.
Yeah, I believe sending it to the mayor. That would be the route to go. It is, I mean, in the ordinance, it does say advisory to the city council and other agencies, but I think sending it to the mayor, because there's some difficulty with, it has to get with the way the city council works. I think they have to like vote to like it just may be it's probably best just to send it to the mayor's office, and then he would report it out to the council as afterward.
Okay. Right, so I could do a simple transmittal memo to the mayor from the chair on behalf of the committee, transmittal memo to the mayor. And I could do a CC to the council president perhaps, and to you and Greg, and offer and request a meeting to go over our semi-annual report.
Yeah, that sounds good. This is the first time it's been done, so I think that's probably the best route to go to start off. Yeah.
Okay. Is that an administrative stroke that we can just do, or do we need to? First off, let's see if there's any discussion on method. Anyone have other ideas?
I think that's the safest way to go.
Okay. Okay. A simple memo. I could draft it in the next couple of days, and as we have done before, I'd send it to all hands and give you, say, 2 days to tell Eric yay or nay, or send edits to Eric, and we'll send whatever he wordsmiths from there. Is that a okay way to proceed? Okay, nodding. All right, great. I will close this item unless there's further discussion or questions. Okay, great. Let's close that item and move on. East Gloucester Open Space. Advice from the Open Space and Recreation Committee. I'm pretty happy with the memo that we put together, and I just want to thank you all for the discussion and the inputs that led to it. I think it was I think we provided some important advice to the planning department and to the consultant, and some really good ideas came out of our discussions, things that were not part of the plan. And I just, one in particular was the basketball hoop. It's just it seems like an easy thing that can be plugged in somewhere, and the consultants will figure it out. But I hadn't, there are two there, and there would not have been one were it not for Mark saying, "Hey, what about this?" And so there are other. I think we made some good suggestions, and I'll turn it over to Eric to see if there's any feedback from Weston and Sampson and any news on EGOS altogether.
Yeah. So they did receive your comments. They thanked us. They are generally, they said that they are going to incorporate some of that into this final design. They want to present the final design. We actually haven't, this kind of been back, it hasn't been solidly confirmed, but they're looking at April 24th. This probably, I think we've started most of these at 6:30 at City Hall. So it would be another public forum. That the way it's kind of laid out there, I'm not sure if it would be a hybrid meeting or not. But that, it very well could be. I'm not sure, just with the presenter in the front, and most people are it's kind of like seats going all the way back. It doesn't really translate well to a hybrid format, but we'll see. Perhaps it will. But for right now, it's like an in-person meeting, 6:30 at Kairou's. Actually, sorry, this is still preliminary, but that's probably what it will be, is Wednesday, the 24th of April. And that will be the final forum, where they present all the feedback that they've gotten, and hopefully, I believe that will be, they could perhaps take some input that residents have from that meeting, but that really is supposed to be sort of like the final presentation.
So,
Yeah.
Eric, all right, so the first meeting, I think we had a roll call and we convened it as an open
Yeah.
space back in October. The second forum, we did not have a quorum, so we considered the open space committee as an informal host, but we had no role as a committee since we were not, we did not have a quorum there, so we did not deliberate in any way. This meeting, I don't know that we would. I mean, it's for the consultant to present to the public, and I don't think that we're not approving it. It's for planning. So I guess I'm kind of wondering what our role is and whether we are convening as a meeting or just hosting as without a quorum or just not. How do we do it? Any thoughts, or you want to give that some time?
It's sort of up to you.
Okay.
Generally, with the second meeting that was, it was just a convener under the auspices of the Open Space Committee. If we do have a quorum attending this time, I'll probably have to double back, check in with, Suzanne to see if that is. I mean, you guys will probably be talking with people, so we might, it may be just easier to have it be a meeting because there will be deliberation and you guys would be in that space. That's probably the safest way. But there wouldn't be like a vote to whether
Right.
it's approved or not. It's just we're presenting the forum,
We're there to host and to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm unsure of my attendance on that date. So I don't know if that affects it, but so I think what we'll if you can speak to legal counsel about kind of the mechanics of it, and we'll accept advice on that. Richard first, and then Dave.
Should we just do a straw poll right now with a show of hands who's actually going to be able to make the April 24th meeting?
Sure. That's a great question. Thank you. So who can make it on to Kairos Auditorium, 6:30 p.m. on the 24th?
So Wednesday. And David has a question here.
But so I saw Mark, Adrian, and Dave Morrow. And were you able to make it, Richard?
No, I'm traveling the entire month of April.
Okay, so we may not have a quorum. I'm unsure of my travel dates in April. But
and then it'd just be a convening.
Right. It would be convened by the planning division, and some members may be present.
Sounds like that's how it should be planned on.
Okay, Dave Morrow.
Do we have any further requirements of input? Is there anything more we have to do on this that we should be deliberating about?
Eric,
I don't believe so, because it's just, I mean, after the final forum, from what I understand, it's go time, and they are, it's after the demolition. I mean, it's a go. Like they're gonna, make the space. So,
Kate had a question.
I'm just as we were talking about our input last meeting, I said, this isn't going to be our last chance for input, right? And we all said, no, of course not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm just a little, I mean, I understand that the public can't be involved in the minutia of every part of the plan, but we've seen it at a schematic level, very high level. So I would want us to be able to weigh in at least one more time after that meeting in April.
I think that's a good point, and I do recall that the next meeting, at our last meeting, we characterized the next forum as the time when it would be a more detailed plan, but not necessarily the final plan. I think that's how we characterized it in our last conversation. Thank you, Kate. So, Eric, do you want to do some sorting on this and then let us know?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, and if this forum is the final rollout of all the details, I wonder if there's a way for the committee to get a preliminary view and we can organize somehow, depending on how we get that view, whether it's convening a meeting or we could have an April meeting before this, or we could find some way to comment on it in a open space legal way or open meeting legal way.
You can always send comments to Eric.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that, Eric, is that something that you're comfortable doing?
Yeah. I'm looking back to the public forum number 3. Yeah, it does look like that's the final design point, but I'll definitely bring it to the consultants to see, like what will there still be opportunity to weigh in afterwards. Like I don't know if it's like, this is it, folks. I don't think it's gonna be like that. I didn't mean to make it sound like that, but I do think it is supposed to be sort of leading to this final design. This is what it is, and then maybe there could be some tweaks later. I'm not sure, but it wouldn't be in a forum setting. It would be some kind of perhaps it would be a meeting of the Open Space Committee.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kate and then Mark.
I think I'm thinking of it less in regard to changes and tweaks and more details. Because I remember someone at the large meeting kind of asked about plantings, and it didn't seem like a lot of plantings. And she was told, oh, well, that's like the next level detail. Like, we're not dealing with that right now, which is fine. But presumably that person's going to show up in April and she's going to want to hear about those details, and she may have an opinion, and I may as well. So it's not like big changes. It's just like we're getting down to another level of detail now, and I expect people will want to have some input, and they should.
Right. Okay.
And I was just going to add, that even if there aren't any more official forums or detailed meetings, that these things are still going to progress through the other agencies like Concom and planning,
right.
and those will be public meetings, and there'll be people that didn't go to any of the forums that are abutters that are going to start showing up to these things and asking questions, and they'll and that's when detailed planting plans will have to be submitted, and so there'll be all little pieces of this that there'll be other times, I guess, to speak. Now, I don't know if we can speak as a group on that at that time, but there will be those opportunities.
Right. Thank you. We'll go Adrian, then Richard.
Is that typical? I haven't really gone to a lot of like public meetings regarding open space areas like that. It goes into like that minute detail regarding specific plantings, or do we just leave? I mean, I feel just based on other things, there's a level of what needs to be, I know there's so many like native plants and so many, just that type of stuff is usually pre-decided. I thought like environmentally, there's this list of what can and cannot be done. Would that really go back to the public to get their input on? I just see this. I mean, this would literally take years if
it's public. It becomes public by way of filings and the packets and the submissions in Pond Road. And that's, I've found out the hard way with, condos next to me that they show planting plans and concepts. And then when they go actually do the planting plans, you say, wait a minute, that wasn't in the planting plan. And then you find out that these things are all done in the background as things get submitted.
But is that for like private residential stuff, or is that for public areas?
I don't know.
So Adrian, I don't think the committee has experience with this sort of thing before. We haven't been
Right.
the conveners of a process like this,
Yeah.
kind of the development before it gets into the permitting steps. We
Sure.
haven't done it. But
I'm just thinking about a dozen open space areas with gardens, like just looking out my window between the boulevard and Stageport Park and, you know, the rink and everything else going on. Like, it's just done, right? Like they tear down a whole area of land at the Woodrow Field. It's like nobody said, well, why are we tearing down all these trees? It's just done. Like, I don't know, like how come this is something that will go to public, but other
Okay.
things
Well,
don't?
one reason that this has been public is because there has been a very engaged group of interested parties who, for 2.5 years, have been kind of demanding it. And it was, Greg Catamatori a long time ago committed to these sorts of conversations and engaging the public in this development of the details of East Gloucester open space. And I think I take your question of how deep can we dive into the details, and typically I would say we should not do that. But then I note that Kate is someone who has the expertise to dive probably very, very deeply into those details, and may have an interest in doing so. And I wouldn't want to curtail that. Yeah, Kate.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I live in the neighborhood too, by East Gloucester School, and I know there are residents who are pretty, feel strongly about native plantings for a whole bunch of just practical reasons, as well as ecological reasons. And I think, I mean, the whole city of Somerville, right, like has ordinances and all kinds of rules about what can and can't be planted in public spaces. So, and I mean, we're not Somerville, but I don't think it's necessarily outside the purview of things that we could be giving input on.
Okay. So it's not just pro forma, but it would be, really Kate has the expertise to improve the situation, and so that's a good one. I think Richard wanted to get in there.
Now, I was just wondering from Eric, does Western New Hampshire's current contract include present preparations of the notice of intent or other submittals to Concom and submittals to the planning board? So ultimately, it's a question of, who has authority to approve the plans.
Right. I don't know. I don't have that answer. I haven't read I'm not in charge of the contract. That's more higher level than me. But I feel there's something about this that's like, it's Article 97. It's like, state laws are involved. And I think it had to go through this process, these forums. But Concom, it is, there is like a resource area, right?
Kate,
Dave, like around there,
you live
I
in the
believe.
neighborhood, Kate.
But
Are the wetlands in proximity to within the 100-foot or 200-foot buffer?
yeah, there's a stream there too. So
So Concom clearly has a role, and they can be very particular, should be very particular about plantings.
Okay. So how about we ask Eric to convey to whether it's Greg or whoever's managing the contract, and to the consultant, an interest in either a preview to this committee, or some kind of indication of what the next, or rather, let me back up. Let us know what the next step is like, and define it a little better. Is it a rollout of the final plan, or is there room for give and take? And can this committee get a preview of that?
okay.
Does that satisfy everyone? Okay. All right. Is there anything else on East Gloucester open space? Thank you all very much. I'm glad you had your questions, and I think we have a good outcome there, or a good request of Eric there. Okay. All right, I will close that item and move on to report of the chair's meeting with DPW Director Mike Hale. I don't think this will take 30 minutes, so we can. I will say this was an interesting meeting. I sent an email to Mike to the mayor's office asking if I could engage with DPW directly, and I was told, please do. And so I sent an email to Mike Hale, and it was well received. In it, I stated that we had this consolidation, and I listed the biggest concerns that you all had expressed in that email. And I didn't expect resolution of them all in this hour and a half meeting, but I was quite pleased that we talked about them all. And I think that what I had hoped most of all to come out of this meeting was actually achieved. And that was a recognition of several things: recognition of the Open Space Committee as an important body, and a willingness to meet regularly. And I was. It ended with Mike Hale introducing me to his secretary and saying, "Let's get him on the calendar. Let's and plan a monthly meeting so that we can stay engaged with the Open Space Committee." And I was delighted with that. We had a very candid conversation for close to an hour and a half, and it ended with this this idea of let's keep talking. And I presented to him your issues, which are big things. And as I said, they weren't going to get resolved, but the way to eventually resolve them is through that persistence and long-term engagement that keeps our issues top of mind and eventually getting into the to-do list or into the appropriations necessary for them to go on the to-do list. So I was very encouraged by that. I was invited to send to him, to Mike Hale, a list of questions after our meetings. So if we have DPW questions, how do they think about this, or what is their season for that? You can put them in an email and suggest a meeting as a follow-up, or a phone call to go through them. It was very encouraging that way. I was pleased. I wasn't surprised, but we've noted how busy DPW is, and the kind of the flat funding in that department for a very long time has resulted in reductions in manpower and staffing and buying power. And so to have a commitment to sustain a conversation in a kind of a stressed organization, I think is just really pleasing. So we did talk about each of the focus areas: Magnolia Woods, Stage 4 Park, and Dogtown. We have certainly other focus areas as a committee, but this is what prompted our conversation. And how best to talk about these? I will start with Stage 4 Park. And I will do my best to characterize the conversation and to provide what detail I can, but and hopefully do it justice. One thing that he began by saying is, if your committee is discussing it, we probably already know about it, because a complaint has come to the city and it's come to my desk, and I'm on it. With Stage 4 Park, we had I had listed the walkway and Cressy Beach. And the walkway is on the to-do list for the spring. We need warmer weather. And we need consistently warmer and drier weather and some kind of window in which to do it. Acknowledge that it was as Adrian had briefed us, it was kind of an engineering mess on the first attempt, and there's got to be some some excavation and a better product and the right weather to fix the walkway. And Adrian, I'm forgetting the name of that walkway right now. It's
Lucy Davis. The
Lucy
Lucy
Davis.
Davis path. So my
Yeah.
concern was it was paid for and like it didn't even last like a few months, but I'm assuming it's still in a contract. Did we close the contract with the contractor who did it? Like it was more than just like, all right, well, what needs to be done, it does need to be done, but it would be nice not to have to pay for things twice, right? Like it's just kind of like fiscally responsibly for the city. You hired someone to do it, they didn't do it great. Are we gonna have to pay to redo it?
And
There's usually a warranty on contractors' work.
Yeah, well, that was sort of like my follow-up. Like I was sort of interested. Like, did this
Okay.
company still own this job? Will they repair it, or is this coming out of? I mean, not that I really am involved with budgets, but it's just it's frustrating.
It is indeed, but that is not a part of the conversation that we
Sure.
had. I didn't
Understood.
I'm sorry I didn't take up that particular point. But there is an intent to take on the walkway this season, this spring. The Cressy's is a bigger and daunting problem, and he talked about the kind of the engineering that when that revetment was put in decades and decades ago, it's not the same kind of buffer as a beach, obviously. And so instead of diffusing energy, it reflects it in directions, and it basically reflects the rocks that are tossed against it as well. And DPW, Mike Hale is in touch with the Massachusetts Emergency Management, and so there's a component of federal emergency management in there. But it's a very, very long-term effort to align the resources and the will to do something serious there that will address the problem of the undercutting of the revetment over and over and over. They recognize it as a safety issue, and there may be some patchwork that is done, but a long-term solution is I did not get the sense that there is a long-term solution of choice yet. It's just it's one of those hard problems that the city is thinking about, but they don't have an answer yet. So. But they appreciated that it is a problem and an urgent one. But I think it's too big to be acted upon urgently. And Stage 4 Park has staffing and who are dedicated staffing, and they often cannot quite keep up with all the demands of maintenance and cleaning. It is a known. It's a known challenge. It's a much used and much loved park, and sometimes it's overwhelming for the two and sometimes one employee who's in charge of going through there all season and cleaning it up. It bumps into a staffing issue. Magnolia Woods. First, any questions on the Stage 4 briefing? Okay. Magnolia Woods. So we had this conversation. I met with him on March 13th. And it was 3 or 4 days ago that I saw the pictures of vandalism at Magnolia Woods. Someone with a four-wheeler has gone in and just done donuts in the lower field and maybe beyond. I haven't been there. So as we're having this conversation about Magnolia Woods and what I heard a couple of weeks ago, I want to talk a little bit about, this newer event. The conversation with Mike Hale was very receptive of the idea of establishing a gate and some kind of stone barricade on the interior. He seemed to suggest that, or was quickly, on board with the idea that cars can't park on 127, and that the space should be made accessible to the public to use. And so I wanted to. I was taken aback at his readiness to say, "Hey, that's a great idea. Maybe we can do that." I am, and so I was a little flat-footed. But the recent events, maybe I think we can address them in a way that makes the need for this even more compelling. You have the gate inside, but you can, further inside that allows access, but also the barricading with large rocks to ensure, or to help ensure, that some four-wheeler doesn't get in there and do this sort of thing again.
Could I
So-
ask a question here?
Of course, Dave.
Did he mention having ever heard of this idea before?
He said that he had encountered it once, and it was not an opportune time to talk about it. I think it was at a social event or something, and that he had, but and I did not, I know that you've been persistent in addressing this topic, and I didn't have those details in which to check it,
Okay.
but I was mainly trying to,
And
go with
another
it.
thing, if I may, the picture I saw of that, I haven't actually been over there in the last couple of days. The person that drove around that was in what we want to have be the lower parking lot. So it's really okay. But it's also good to have these pictures going around to point to this issue. But this is the part that people are going to be parking on anyway.
Okay.
So it's not a disaster, but it's a good PR opportunity.
Okay. All right. So the way that so it's a little bit one thing he told me was that if you have an issue that you really would like DPW to take on, I could, that we could, as a committee, write a memo to the mayor and ask that the mayor charge DPW to do this thing, and then it gets worked into the work assignments. I think it's a little more complicated in that we do not, we are situated with the planning division in community development. So I think it's something that we need to work through community development and make sure that Eric and Greg Catamatori and whoever's acting community development chief are okay with, and they can, while we're talking to them, preparing our memo, they can then also be talking to DPW at a department to department level. I don't think it's as easy as chair to mayor memo and it's done, but it does. I did get the idea that it was supportive of it, and that it could get into the work queue that way.
Excellent.
So-
Thank you for mentioning that, and thank you to the committee for approving this as an important project.
Well, I think it is an important project in that, like the signage project that Mark is championing. It's about access, and it's about letting people informing people how to use the city's open space gems. And so I think I'm glad you brought it to our attention. I think how best to proceed with this. Eric, do you feel that I or we need to speak with Greg before writing a memo to the mayor?
I mean, we're there to help you guys. So you could send it past us first, or you can write the memo and send it along, and then CC us. It's up to you. But I guess, it could help to send it to us first. This would be for like because my sense was that like now there's this conduit for more regular communication that you will be having with DPW, right? Like kind of
Yep.
these debriefs of the meetings and priorities. So like I think that was really key to set for those specific asks. Like the Magnolia is sounding like it's one of our specific asks here. That would be Freya, I'll be right there. That would be I guess send it to us first. We'll review it, make sure it looks good, and then send it along to the mayor. 1 second here.
All right. Dave, do you have a past request or memo that might serve this that could be updated?
Remember that proposal that I
Okay.
guys, and I did send it to the public folder so everybody has access to it.
Mhm.
And the mayor's already seen it, but
Okay.
anything
All right.
that'll help.
I'll
Good.
take a look at that, and I will take a look at it and kind of put it in our usual well, I'll take a crack at updating it and check in
Excellent.
with you and Eric about further refinements, and we can finalize it at the next meeting. In the meantime, do a little bit of legwork with DPW and planning to make sure everybody's on board with it. Is that a fair way to go?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And Dogtown. So for Dogtown, the thing that was on the list in the memo that I sent to Mike was, of course, the compost facility, and that topic just didn't go anywhere because I don't think there's a present place to go. It just doesn't have. He didn't have options for it, and so it's not to say that it wasn't a good conversation about Dogtown, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But we just could not get started on any kind of problem solving or collaborative thinking, or he didn't have any immediate ideas for the compost facility. It was a bit like Cressy's in that sense, Cressy Beach, where it's just like, holy smokes, that's a big thing. My words, not his, but it's a big thing. It's going to take years of working towards it to get the thing defined and moved. Okay, and it's been years. Where the conversation did go regarding Dogtown was exactly what Richard was talking about earlier, which was Mike Hale's suggestion of a perimeter survey of Dogtown, and of when I suggested it, he agreed, the other large woodlands of Gloucester, and kind of a delineation of the properties and a resolution of the inholdings. And this is something that he said this is something that DPW could support. And what I love about it is that it's also something that I've heard Greg Catamatori say planning could support. And so that's not to say it's pocket change and it's sitting around right now, but having two departments on board with this idea, I think is a pretty good thing. And I think, I was pleased that it was his idea, and it was it was very receptive and kind of brainstormy about what about this, what about the perimeter survey, and I'm told that some of that perimeter survey work has already been done with Dogtown, and that there's so this is what prompted my email to you all prior to the meeting. I wanted to give you a heads up about is there anyone of you who would like to champion a project of that sort? One in which we, kind of help the city get the knowns and the unknowns and the project details together. It would entail probably digging into the Dogtown Preservation Commission's 1988 documents and some of their more recent updates. It would entail maybe contacting Noel or just getting information that Noel left behind with planning on some of the legwork that she and file work that she had done, and better describing what needs to be done to delineate the properties and then to follow it up with the title work. Is there? Yes, sir, Richard.
Yeah, mute. There we go. I don't have time right yet because I'm still president of the temple, but my term ends at the end of June, so I'll have more time. It's more than a one-person operation, so I'm hoping that someone else could help me with that. Certainly the person who's applied to be an alternate is extremely knowledgeable. Both of us worked on the 1985 Dogtown plan. So we've been talking about this land acquisition for literally 40 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see movement on it. It's important.
Yeah. So Richard, thank you. I do think it is, we can do committee work, less than a quorum. You do committee work and do the investigation and the digging through the files, talking to people. We can also supplement our task force with non-committee members, and so it would be great to have another committee member to work with Richard. But if you knew of someone who had the expertise and the time to work with you on it, we could find an appropriate way to make that happen as well.
Right. Oh, can I ask another question? In your discussions on the compost, did Mike touch upon the exercise, whether the city's going to exercise their contract option with the hauler to, there's a clause in the contract that allowed, but I think it was an additional like $17,000 a year to take all the residential compost or residential yard waste and whatnot that they collect and take it off island. Do you know if that was that discussed at all yet?
It was mentioned but not discussed.
Okay.
I think it was just noted, I sensed that it was not a topic in which he and I were going to advance the problem solving, and then we got on this topic of the delineation and resolution of inholdings, and we stayed there.
So I think you're right. It's like it's as complicated as Cressy's. It's not a simple thing to be solved.
Right.
So we just
It's
keep
not
it
to
on
say
there.
it's entirely off the table. It's just it wasn't really worked on in our conversation.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Kate next, and then Dave Morrow.
So I don't have the bandwidth to kind of take on the Dogtown project, but I'd be really happy to help. I have some very basic title research skills, and I actually really enjoy that kind of digging into documents. So I'm happy to help out with that.
Super. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I will urge you two to talk and be happy to bring it up again at meetings if if and when you are ready for a sounding board and ideas on how best to proceed on kind of this definitional work. Great, thank you, Dave Morrow.
Well, you mentioned two other groups were going to be working on the same thing, so now there's three. Is there some way that we could coordinate all this together so we're not all doing the same thing in parallel?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
You mentioned two other groups who also were enthusiastic about doing the delineation, and it seems like some sort of coordination of this through the different groups would be advantageous.
Yes, I agree. I think a good place to start would be through Richard's experience with the Dogtown Preservation Committee or Commission, and talking to members there and getting baseline or an update on where things stood. I also think that Greg Catamatori has ideas about this, and I haven't been able to meet with him since then. I think it would be really great to talk to Greg about what the city would like to do, and that would be the first two steps. And the idea is not that the committee would do everything. It's just to kind of organize the problem statement and then check that problem statement out with planning and DPW and say, is this something that can be done? And I do think that's consultative and iterative. So I don't think we'd be entirely independent of planning and DPW. It's kind of more, what's the legwork that we can do to define the project and present it consistent with the goals and objectives of our open space plan. Yeah, it's good.
I just add, so right now, we still haven't gotten a final report about Poles Hill, but planning executed that contract for a land surveyor for Poles Hill. That's sort of what we're saying, and when we get to that point of like asking for the perimeter surveys, etc., it will be like an either or department kind of thing. It's either asking DPW or asking us to do it. It sounded like DPW in that meeting, and I don't know, like this may be something like way in the future, because like title, like there has been work done, but there's still a lot of work to do because there's like unknown parcels, and some of them are really big. There are also encroachments happening on public land, right? So so it is a lot of work and bandwidth, and it would have to be some kind of like ask to obtain a land surveyor to do these perimeter surveys, etc. But it would be an either or department, so it wouldn't be like 3 separate tracks. It'd be like OSRC like collaborating. And I know it's weird because like I'm city staff from the community development department, but it does kind of, we do communicate with the other departments, etc. So it won't be like a 3-headed monster. It would be a collaborative effort in the end.
We would take you are our go-to point of contact, and we would take our tips from you of when to go to community development, your parent part of the agency, and to DPW. I do have this access to Michael for questions and such, and also I can use that access to kind of update him on things like this conversation, and make sure that we're not. So I can work on maintaining that conversation to make sure that we're not kind of drifting from what he was describing in our meeting, or if we are drifting, that it's still an okay thing.
Now, the process for taking of these lands is really pretty straightforward. We just need to get the city to commit, and I think Mayor Bird is behind this as well, committing some legal time to creating the public legal notices that have to go up for taking these properties for not paying the taxes or other issues.
Yep.
But most of the surveying of those properties, that's all done. Perimeter maybe not, but those properties, I think you need some bounds and all. Or you already have all that, I believe.
Okay. So I am, first off, thank you. Thank you, Kate and Richard, for stepping up. And as I mentioned in the email, we're volunteers. And so, Richard says and Kate, you both said you have some bandwidth constraints. Well, yeah, because you have the rest of your life to manage. And so it's a matter of persistence and and making connections and communicating with the city professionals to eventually get the thing done. So thank you. Another thing that you mentioned was planting trees. Anybody interested? Or you? I don't think there's a plan in terms of having a big event, but I think there is a distribution plan. So many trees at in so many properties, and an idea of where they would go, and you would get those instructions and head out with a bundle of trees under your arm.
Would having an event, because I work with people in the North Shore Invasives Task Force, and the flip side to mitigating invasives is planting natives. So that might be a satisfying experience for some of them. So I don't know if there's sort of, if there's one space where there's going to be a lot of trees, that it would make sense to do a kind of 2-hour, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 people kind of an event. If they're interested in that, I can look into it. If not, I just gradually, my husband.
Okay, I will check with Michael about that. So you said 7 or 8 people, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if you could give you a focus area on a number of trees, yeah.
Even if he's not interested in that, and my husband would still be interested in taking some trees to plant.
As am I. Okay. All right. So I'm ready to move on to the next topic are there any further questions about my communications with DPW? Okay. All right. Thank you all. Open space.
Oh, Dan, I just have one question.
Yes.
You did say you have an outstanding meeting with him? Did Rose put it on the books or not yet?
Oh, I didn't get it yet.
Okay.
I
just wanted to put it in there for a follow-up, because you did say you would talk to the secretary regarding a ongoing monthly meeting. I just wanted to see if there was another one booked already. Okay.
Part of the problem is I'm going to be away for 2 months, and so I think I will do meetings when convenient in April and May. Sure. And then set up the recurring meeting when I get back in August.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's good nudge that I needed. Okay. I'll go through these bicycle and pedestrian accommodations and planning. I don't have anything to report on this topic that is city oriented. I'm doing some work under this. It's not an organization in terms of legal status. It's just a group of people. I call us Bike Gloucester, and trying to get the group together in a few days to kind of organize a planning exercise. First, I need to see that people actually show up to this meeting. But the idea is to get together, get a map of the city, and as I was mentioning to Dave, mark what the corridors are that we need to think about for bike and pedestrian safety. When I say bike and pedestrian safety, that's basically everybody who's not a car. If you're in a wheelchair or a scooter or a stroller, we want it to be safe. And bikes tend to move a little, they're more ubiquitous and move a little faster and further. So they tend to be the drivers for a lot of the kind of the longer runs of accommodations, and it's kind of in the city center where you get the others really take care of the other users. So I'll stop on that topic and turn it over to Mark Pullen for signage at open spaces.
So I think, Dan, that we just have to put the finishing touches on that letter. Maybe getting a little input from what you put in the semi-annual report. I mean, I think between those two elements, we can just have it, have it come together and I guess I would think that at this point we'd have to bring it back to the next meeting to show everybody.
Yeah.
So let's just get it across the finish line. I think we have all the pieces there. It's just sort of how we put them on the page and what wants to stand out and
Right. So the topic, the idea is that we would have a memo to the council president, and in which we, as it was noted in the semi-annual report, we'd be asking for an ordinance change that would include certain kind of properties under that section of the Gloucester Code of Ordinances.
Yeah.
And that enables signage and regulation. And
like I
okay.
said, there's a lot of information there on the what its potential could be, as well as the current problem statement. So we just got to put it together and lay it out.
Okay. And I think if we can get the report out to the mayor and to the CC to the council president, the semi-annual report, they'll at least know it's coming, know the memo is coming.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Okay. The land acquisition and conservation, I think we've covered this topic because when I think of land acquisition and conservation, it's about us kind of organizing towards that, and sort of covered that in the previous item, unless you all have something to add. Okay. And I did not get an update in terms of conservation. I know that Greenbelt has been active in some West Gloucester woodlands, but I'm sorry to say I don't have an update from Greenbelt and the latest in their easement and acquisition work.
If I could, Greenbelt is looking at purchasing 85 acres that are called Mount Hunger, which is the top of Woodmouth Street, for $611,000, and they've have all the money committed with the exception of $156,000, which they're trying private donations, and I've thrown some money at it. So, but essentially it's a continuation of the trail network that starts at Red Rocks and goes into Essex and Manchester, and some of it's city watershed, and other ones are already conservation easements, but there's some inholdings that aren't protected, and this would help solidify that area.
Thank you, Dave. All right. Emerging issues is our next item. Okay, so there are two, and that I want to mention. Some of you have been in touch with on one of them. So you all are familiar with the Young Legends street hockey rink at Stage Fort Park. There were people who were excited about the construction of it and the possibility of using it for a roller skating venue when it was not in use for Young Legends, so for street hockey. I had to look this up because I am out of it when it comes to these sports. I did not know that the Young Legends, they're just running. They're not skating, and that's just comes from my ignorance. But the problem that has arisen is that the surface material in the Young Legends rink is of a quality that is specific to street hockey, and it's got appropriate cushioning, and it protects the the feet and the knees of the players. But due to sourcing restrictions during COVID, the material that was put down was not one that is also durable enough to handle the roller blades and the roller skates. So the mayor received an email and several emails that were spelling out this person's disappointment with that realization that they would not be able to skate at the rink. The mayor has committed to, as this is a wearable surface, someday it's going to be resurfaced. He committed to doing better next time and ensuring that it was a skatable surface in the future. And he said, please, ask the Open Space Committee if there are other places to skate. I have not heard from the person who presented the complaint any further, and that's good because I don't really have a good answer about places to skate in town. Any questions? Adrian had a question.
We do have a skate park in town. I don't know the condition of the skate park,
Yeah.
but there is a skate park. So
Yeah.
I know it's really not for that type of skating. However,
Yeah.
there is space available.
Yes, and I haven't had the conversation with the person to know about the number of people and what suitable conditions are, and how often and what the season is, and all of those things that would then help describe what sort of space might be usable. So, any further questions on that? Yes, Mark.
Was our commission formally tasked with trying to help out that, or
No.
just asked if we could help?
No, it was more the individual was referred to our community, to our committee, and I have not taken the initiative to reach out to her. But I was sort of waiting for that, and a little bit overwhelmed with all the other stuff we're doing. Yeah. Okay, and the other issue is pickleball. There is an individual who represents quite a few people who are interested in establishing pickleball courts in Gloucester. And we may be asked to opine on pickleball. I think we already have. It's addressed in our open space and recreation plan, and we support the idea of pickleball. And we one of our objectives or tasks, we urged the city to invest in pickleball as a sport that has an emerging and expanding following. The tougher question is, and I don't know if it's appropriate for us, is if we were asked on locating the facility. And so we haven't been asked for that yet. I think that's I think the individual who's interested in citing the pickleball courts has a lot of legwork to do in meeting with the city and many other property users to figure out that puzzle. Mark, you've got maybe some further insight, or have I captured it enough?
Yeah, I think at a high level you've captured it. I mean, there is the idea that some locations have been thrown out for discussion, but again, not really formal. Just this person tried to meet with Mike Hale as well, and Mike said, first he said yes, then he said no, and I don't really know. I think it needs to be acknowledged by the city more that this is a potential location, and then maybe within the location find out if it's okay. I mean, Magnolia Woods is the area people are talking because of the distance from houses. It's 1,000 feet from the nearest house. There's a lot of complaints about noise in other cities with pickleball. Whether you can do it in Magnolia Woods is really the question. you know, relative to the capped surfaces or even the lower fields or just all this, you know, and of course the gate is all part of, would have to be part of that too. We'd have to, you know, the gate would have to happen first, you know, there's a lot there, right? Yeah.
Well, and displacing other uses.
And displacing, you know, soccer fields and just how many soccer fields are being used at one time. And
Yeah, there's a possibility that up at the top of the hill to the right, there's some woods there that isn't actually capped garbage that could be turned into something. There
Right.
used to be a Boy Scout camp or something up there.
Okay.
And there's also, if you
Are you talking about where that there's almost like a paved way leading down, and then it just ends?
no, if
Are you
you
talking
go
about that
up to the top
space?
if you go up to the very top parking lot, and to the left is the field, but to the right, there's just woods that I don't think
Oh,
is
right.
garbage. And then there's also, if you go the road that goes through to the farther, there's a dead space back in there that was going to be a bicycle park at one point, but it's really nothing right now.
Okay.
Right.
So there are places that could happen in Magnolia Woods if we knew how much space they needed, and you know,
Right.
maybe we can make
He has that, and I think that's another point of or another issue is that it needs to be sort of vetted, whether it's 4, 6, 8 courts, and how much usage there would likely be, and what's an appropriate number of courts for the city. I'm sure there's all sorts of websites that will suggest that for you.
Yeah, the noise might be annoying in the woods when you're out walking in the woods, but
Yep.
you know, I understand people love that friggin' game. So
Yes,
We're tapping on a potential here. We could have pickle skate, a skating rink, pickleball.
All right.
We're on to
Yeah,
something.
we gotta aim big, guys.
All right. As we're getting a
On
little
that note, are we
silly,
done yet?
as we're getting a little silly, we might move towards an adjournment. Are there any other emerging issues, or Dave, you have something?
I was just saying that I put my actual name up. You could perhaps use my initials TDM to differentiate.
In the notes, I've been using DM and TDM just to distinguish, but I was just gonna go see what all the other notes were doing just for
Okay.
consistency, but I think at this point, all 3 are gonna be different, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used, I was the first one to take the minutes and I put a C in front of Dan, you know, for Chair Dan Morris.
Yep.
Oh, good. Whatever you want to do, but I'm just saying.
Whatever it is, I'll put a key in the top
Okay.
under the roll
Right.
call, okay?
Okay, I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay.
Sorry about taking your initials.
All right, we're gonna wrap up before 7. I want to set our dates. So having no more emerging issues, I'm going to move on towards adjournment. But I would like to when the hybrid rooms are ready, it would be helpful for us to have a set monthly date and not have to go through monthly polling, but also it'll help us get on the calendar at the Baker Center. And so I guess what I have in mind here is kind of assuming each month is 4 weeks, assuming we don't want to have meetings on Mondays because of holidays or Fridays because of Friday. That gives us Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And so what I had in mind was to just ask you all, is there for each week, raise your hand if it's a bad day. And I note that this will change. I think some people have obligations now that'll change in a semester or another season or something like that. And we may have to adjust, but it would be nice to set this in some kind of routine. Okay. So I'll just say for the first week of the month, raise your hand if the first Tuesday is bad. Okay, so Dave and Dave on Tuesday. The first Wednesday is bad. Dave, Kate, and Adrian. Okay. the first Thursday. Mark, okay. All right,
Actually, it's not so much the first Thursdays, but if these meetings are done with by 7, then no Thursday becomes a problem for me.
okay.
And if they are from 5 to roughly 7, then that should be okay.
Well, I'm encouraged by this meeting. We seem to be wrapping up on time. Okay, that's good to know. So before 7. All right, so the second Tuesday of the month.
Are we looking forward 6 months?
Pardon me?
Are we looking forward 6 months, or are we just looking at April?
I think we're looking at a standard month.
Right. Well, this was the fourth Tuesday of the month. Do we want to just think about doing it the fourth Tuesday of every month, or fourth Wednesday? Just see how many of us can make them.
Well, fourth Tuesday looks good. I was just looking for other opportunities. All right. All right. So the second Tuesday seems pretty good. No one raised an issue. Second Wednesday.
Oh, I can do that.
That's what's that, Dave?
I raised my hand.
Okay. Oh, you raised it. Okay, but Kate and Adrian, no. All right, and the second Thursday. Okay, that's another option. Third week, Tuesday.
I'm
Right,
just gonna
Tuesday-
say no to the third week. It's always a school vacation week and it's always just chaos. So that's gonna happen like 3 times a year that the third week of the month is never gonna be good for me.
Okay,
And I just want to say the first and third weeks, I have Concom, and
okay,
I put in
a lot of time.
20 hours per meeting, so.
Ouch. Okay. All right, so we said the fourth Tuesday, so the third week is out, and for a couple of reasons. The fourth week, we previously said Tuesday's good. That's where we are right now. All right, the fourth week Wednesday was out. Kate is out. Okay, and fourth week Thursday, Dave. All right, so we've done the last couple months, the fourth Tuesday. Eric, how is that for you?
Sorry, it works. Yeah.
But is Thursday a night that you all work later?
Oh, you're saying, I thought you said Tuesday.
I did say Tuesday, but so I was wondering, does Thursday better for you or not?
Well, the fourth Thursday, yeah, there's no planning board meetings that day, so, and I do work late, but if these go to 7, I'd be there a half hour alone in a dark office. So or I'd be meeting with you guys because we'd be in person finally. Yeah, I think I would prefer Thursday, I guess. Yeah. But
Well,
it's not up
actually,
to me.
The fourth Thursday doesn't work for Dave, so maybe the
Right.
second Thursday?
No,
Nope.
the Democrats meet that day.
Okay, Dave Morrow, no. All right, so Eric, is the fourth Tuesday objectionable? That's where we are tonight.
Not at all. It's worked so far.
Okay, fourth Tuesday. All right. So let's try to stick to that. Is that agreeable to everyone? All right. Thank you all very much for that little bit. We have 7 minutes and we're going to meet our deadline. Review action items coming from this meeting. I have the semi-annual report to fine tune. We're going to pull out the Magnolia Woods request from some time ago, and Dave or I will polish that into a memo. Mark is going to adopt the semi-annual report language into the signage project memo. And I leave it to Kate and Richard to communicate when ready about the woodland projects. Does that cover everything?
So the meetings will be at 5 o'clock still.
Is it? It seems to work for everyone. Is it an inconvenience? Would 5:30 be better? Or- Okay, I'm happy with 5 and getting done by 7 before I get hangry.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I think this has been a really productive conversation. Any parting thoughts before I seek an adjournment?
Just
Do
let
we
you
know-
know I'm gone all next month.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Safe travel.
Is the reason we didn't get the room tonight was because there's already a meeting on the fourth Tuesday of the month? Or it was
No,
just
it's,
kind of a fluke? Okay, I just want to make sure before we
it's-
set that there's not already an outstanding meeting there.
No.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll have to figure out because you guys want the small conference room, right? That's kind of the desired spot.
I think so. It's small, but it easily seats, what, 10 people at least
Mhm.
on that table. And yeah, I think it's sizable. If any members of the public wanted to attend, there's certainly room without crowding the table to have
Right.
more seating there.
But Eric, I
Right.
think the day of the week, the day of the month and the day of the week is more important than the room size,
Yes.
Right.
right? For us, right? Getting a quorum is more important than where we meet.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Are you gonna dibs it for us, Eric?
I was thinking about it to see. Well, that hasn't been really clear, like if we can do that yet. But I've explored it, and but Rose Baker's not completely 100% ready to go here. But I think that is an idea to just have so that everything is just easier rather than this scramble. It's been crazy with this harbor master and the city hall and everything. It's just, I mean, for us especially, it's just like, let's just do remote because there's nowhere to go. Like we've had several times where there's just we couldn't book a space. So,
Right.
that would make it easier.
So you'll let us know if there's any problem with the fourth Tuesday. Okay, great. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Okay, I think Dave Sargent won the draw there. In a second. Richard. All right, thank you, Richard. So we have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Sargent, seconded by Mr. Quaitman. Any discussion? I will call the vote. Gosh. Dave Morrow.
Yes.
Kate Parsons.
Yes.
Dave Sargent.
Yes.
Richard Quaitman.
Oh, yes.
Mark Pullen.
Yes.
Adrian Sweet.
Yes.
And I agree as well. Thank you all for a good meeting. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
6:58.
Excellent.
Bye all.
Nice.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.